43 million borrowers have about $1.5 trillion in federal student loan debt. CBS News national correspondent Mark Strassman sat down with Seth Frotman, the executive director of the Student Borrower Protection Center, as part of the series Life and Debt. They discuss the consequences of student loan debt. Here's some of that interview.
As a society, we don't really understand the true impact that this debt is having, not only on individual households, but also on larger society. So we see things like student debt impacts people's ability to buy a house, save for retirement, what career they could enter. We see people with student loan debt actually make less over the course of their lives. They can't go into the careers they want. But I think where this gets really scary is we're starting to see how student debt is driving income inequality, racial inequality, because we're creating the haves and the have-nots in American society, and that is being filled out by those who are forced to take on student debt to get an advanced degree.
So going into debt has life-altering consequences.
It has life-altering consequences, and we don't even understand the true scope of those yet.
And you use the word scary. Why to you is this scary?
Because I think there are still too many folks who look at student debt as good debt. And in many ways, this replicates a lot of the same arguments we heard in the run-up to the financial crisis, right? The value of your house will always go up, and a mortgage is always a good investment. And it's remarkable about how there are the same exact comparisons being made in the student debt crisis. Whereas we are telling individual families, we're telling individuals, just take on the debt, it's worth it. And the larger ramifications to their lives and our society are truly unknown.
So do these debtors have an advocate anywhere?
So I think this is like a really hard question I get all the time. And it's unfortunate because what we have seen is that the federal government has truly walked away from the fight to stand up for the millions of Americans with student debt. And I think there are people out there that are still on their side. We've seen state law enforcement officials sue some of the largest student loan predatory companies. We've seen state legislatures try to pass bills to empower their state to stand up for their constituents. But a lot of this is playing catch up, and it's hard to give a straight answer to that without saying the federal government has really failed tens of millions of people here, and we need borrowers across the country to rally against this.
I mean, when the economy almost went off the cliff in 2008, I think the post-mortem was largely real estate fueled by banks, but enabling the real estate industry top to bottom. And that was the financial crisis. Is student loan debt America's new financial crisis?
I think that the student debt crisis isn't some financial crisis out on the future. I think the student debt crisis is here. So right now, there are more than 8 million Americans who are in default on their student loans. Every single year, another million student loan borrowers default on that debt. That means every 28 seconds of every day, every week, every month, for an entire year, another student loan borrower defaults. That has an enormous impact on their financial lives, their families' financial lives, and has this ripple effect throughout the American economy.
With no end or change in sight.
With no end or change in sight, and absolutely zero plan to tackle this at the federal level.
And you can watch more of the Life and Debt series Wednesday when Mark Strassman takes a look at the fastest growing group of borrowers, seniors.